Welcome to NumismaTalks. Every second and fourth Thursday of the month at noon Mountain, we will be here with a new presentation. We're going to do things a little differently this time. Usually I have you hold your questions, but this time if you have a question, you can go ahead and put it into the Q&A and we will answer those. Christian will answer those as we go. So now I would like to let you know that it is Christian today that is presenting. Christian is the education director of the ANA. She has spent the past year and a half revamping the education opportunities for young numismatists and adults, focusing on e-learning and creating engaging, dynamic, and relevant experiences for numismatists. Christian will be presenting inside the Revamped Numismatic Diploma Program. And Christian, it is all yours, and I'll just interrupt if there's questions.
Thank you so much for joining us for this. I'm very excited about it. I'm going to start. I'm going to obviously share my screen, which is a presentation. Are you seeing that presentation now?
Yes.
Paula? Okay,
Yes.
perfect. So yes, we are focused today solely on the Numismatic Diploma Program, which if you know anything about education at the ANA has been kind of my heart and soul coming into this position 3 years ago. And it's taken 3 years, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm very excited to announce that all 4 courses of the Numismatic Diploma Program are now going to be available online. And we're going to explore those together. So today's NumismaTalk is a little bit different than a traditional lecture question. It's going to be me walking you through what you can expect if you join the Numismatic Diploma Program courses starting in March. I want to preface this just by saying, if you're already taking one of our numismatic diploma courses on Blackboard, this particular presentation is focused on Google Classroom because we're shifting to Google Classroom. Therefore, if you're already in one of those courses, you'll still be offered the opportunity to finish on Blackboard. So don't panic. Don't be like, oh my gosh, do I have to take them all over? Do I have to do? Absolutely not. This is just to show people who have not yet started the program what is coming for them now that it's all ready and on Google Classroom. And I can explain more about that if you have questions. Please interrupt me with questions. If you have questions, pop them in that Q&A. I'm a teacher at heart and I love to stop and make sure everyone's on the same page before we move forward. Before I start any presentation related to the education department, I like to start with what do we believe? Simply because as a team in the education department, we always come back to this. Everything we do revolves around this mutually created 3 bullets. Our mission in our department is to lead the world in numismatic education. Our vision is to do that by welcoming all learners, by providing dynamic, engaging, relevant, and organized learning opportunities for the lifelong love of numismatics. And we want to do that with the values of being learner-centered, not teacher-centered, which is a huge shift in modern education. We want to be team-oriented. We want to be knowledgeable about what we're doing. We want to be open-minded. And we want to approach everything with a growth mindset, as in we can get better, we can do better, we can see better. Just to give everyone a same page starting point, this is where we started. 3 years ago, we had a numismatic diploma program. Some of you present may have actually taken that program. You ordered books by mail. You received this book, and at the end of taking 6 courses, we've now compiled them and compacted them into 4, and you'll see how we've done that. You took a 200-question closed book final exam. There's this very traditional learning of the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, in that, you learn all this knowledge, you have it in your head, and you kind of throw it up on a test. And what we've done is we've changed that so that you're actually learning about numismatics and the different programs we have and the different courses you're taking, but applying your knowledge about what you're learning so it's relevant to you. And so it's not about memorizing things you can Google. It's about looking at the information from our museum, from our website, from our numismatist editions. We have every edition of the numismatist at our fingertips. If you're a member, you should know that every edition ever written is free to you through our library page. So we've incorporated other NumismaTalks by other numismatists. We've incorporated all of this into kind of 4 courses over 4 topics. And this is what it looks like. So it is on Google Classroom. To take the Numismatic Diploma Program course, you have to be a member. Okay, there is an additional fee of $75, but you have to be a member before you can even get to that level of paying for the course. The entire thing, starting mid-March, and we'll send out an e-blast, email. We will let you know. You're not going to miss it. Will be launched on Google Classroom. And as I said, if you're already taking courses in Blackboard, you'll get a different, separate email to give you some options on how you want to proceed. Yes, Paula.
I think you maybe just clarify a little bit. Somebody wanted to know that if they have already done the NDP courses in Blackboard, are they going to transfer to Google Classroom?
That's a great question. So if you have taken one, two, and three, or one or two, or any of the courses, you will get access for free to the Google Classroom courses. The reality is our contract with Blackboard is ending next year. And so for anyone who's in Blackboard, you'll have a year to take course four, wrap up everything you're doing, and then we'll give you free access to the same information just on the Google Classroom platform. So you're not going to lose any information or anything like that. And you'll have plenty of notice if there's anything in the work you've done that you want to make sure you save to do that. And we'll help you with that in that process.
Okay, we've got a couple other questions coming up.
Sure.
Um, are the submissions actually being graded?
Yes, they are 100% graded. So they are graded according to what we consider a proficiency standard. Proficiency means that you understood the question and you answered it with adequate information. I do every single morning that I work Monday through Friday, go through and read up to 100 different submissions across the four courses. It's actually funny because on what was the long weekend we had on Martin Luther King Jr. weekend? One day, like we had one day that we were off, and I came back and I had 99 plus submissions in my first course. Totally read them all. And if you've done something, not provided enough information, you get feedback. There are lots of people who go through the whole course. They do everything they're asked. They understand everything. They get their assignments returned and graded, and they receive their certificate. That's ideal, right? That you don't need, that you're able to guide yourself. We have other people who submit assignments two, three, four times where they haven't answered all the questions, or they've answered the questions, but it's clear they haven't read the article that went with the questions. That's usually the most common reason something's returned, or they just missed the boat the first time on the point. Like they didn't understand the point and they put something in, and we give you feedback and ask you to resubmit. So yes, they actually are being graded.
Is enrollment automatic upon payment?
Yes, enrollment is automatic upon payment, and this is the only reason we're launching in March. We're technically ready to launch now, but we're working with our systems integration manager and our website. So when you currently, if you're enrolled in Blackboard, when you submit your payment, it does take 2 to 3 hours. So in that 2 to 3 hour period, we do get a lot of calls. People are like, I paid, I can't get in the course. Totally understand. I'm a panicky person too. I'm like, oh my God, like I need it now, or did it go through, or is this was a credit card scam or whatever. It does take 2 to 3 hours. With Google Classroom, it'll be a little different because you'll be given a code. And that code, you'll go to Google Classroom, enter, and it'll put you in the course. So it'll be, it'll give you directions immediately on how to do that. And you'll be able to do that immediately.
There's a few here, so I'm just going to go ahead and get through all of
Yep,
these.
let's do it.
Okay.
And if I'm answering it in the future, I'll push it forward, okay?
Okay. I'm late to the hobby and just starting gathering knowledge. What level are these courses?
That's a great question, and I'm going to get into that here in just a minute. The courses everything starts at basic introductory level. So let me move forward here. I'm going to skip that. That's just some comments that we've had on the NDP on Blackboard. Everything's been positive. I have had I had my first complaint, um, which was we would like more feedback, which I understand. So I can do that. I can take more time to get more feedback. The other thing that same person said was, they had been a professor for years and this isn't how they would have taught. And so keep in mind, this is asking you not to just memorize stuff and spit it back out. This is for you to actually learn numismatics and be able to use it. So I'm going to start with the example of this made up person, Stella Mercury. Stella, as you know, hopefully you can pick up on the references to that term. Um, Let me stop sharing that and share something else. Stella is a new student and she has enrolled in 4 courses. Can you see those courses?
Yes.
Okay. She's enrolled in Google Classroom in 4 courses, and this is what will appear. Okay. If she's enrolled in only one, she'll see only one of these. If she's paid for all 4, she'll see all 4. You can do pay for all 4 at once. You can do them one at a time. Doesn't matter. But let's assume Stella has decided she wants to do the entire Numismatic Diploma Program, which is 4 courses long, and she wants to start with Introduction to Numismatics. Every course starts with the assumption you know nothing. Every course ends with knowledge that you've built. So anybody can enter at that starting point. Okay. It starts very basic. What is numismatics? What is money? How do we use money in our society? How did coins come about? History of money, Roman coins, Greek coins, and then it gets into other topics as I'll show you in a moment. Um, but by the end, you have to, it's like math almost. You have to have actually read and done the information to be able to complete the assignments in the end because it's building. So as long as you ask questions along the way, I'm a live person on the other end. So if you put comments in on your assignments, I'll see them and I'll answer them. And if I don't know the answers, I'll get you the answers, right? And as I said, I do this every work day that I'm not on vacation or at a show. Um, so it's a pretty quick turnaround. So let's imagine Stella here is in Introduction to Numismatics. It says, Welcome to the course. To start, click classwork at the top. And Stella can immediately see everything that's in this entire course. Okay. It's broken down into sections, introduction, and you can see there are different things for her to read. There's history of money. There's ancient coins and world coinage, coinage of the United States, paper money, exonumia, a discussion of what gives coins value, ways to collect, how to purchase coins for your collection, how to store your collection, numismatic estate planning, numismatic literature and resources, and enjoying your collection. So it is a true comprehensive introduction to numismatics. This is where I recommend anyone who's new to numismatics starts. And what I've actually heard from people who work at the museum, because, we pilot tested this, we beta tested this, is that even people who've been numismatists for years have enjoyed this course. Not saying you have to take it or you should take it, but I have people who have been numismatists since they were 4 and now they're in their 60s and they've taken the course and they're like, wow, I didn't know that new information was there. That's the beautiful piece of using Google Classroom, is that I can constantly update it. And if something changes, I can change the information that day. I can add articles that day. I can go in, someone goes, oh, I don't think this is accurate. And I go back and I look it up and I'm like, oops, I got that from an old resource. I can change it and update it. Uh, and I'm going to show you now if there are no immediate questions with that. Paul, is there anything I should address here?
Um, I think we can wait on the rest.
Okay. Okay. So what we see is when you're in here, you start with the introduction. Each thing you click on has something at the bottom that says view material. And again, if you pay for this and sign up for this and take these courses, we're going to have tutorial videos. And our systems integration manager is also your live help desk. He will walk you through anything you're struggling with or you're trying to figure out. He'll help you get there. You'll see there are attachments. Every course has course goals. The course goals outlined by the end of the course, the statements you should be able to confidently say. So this is, again, newer education principles. They argue that students do better and learn better when they know what they should know before you start. That way they can check it off. Okay, I do know that. I can do that. So we start each course with course goals. Anytime you need to go back, you simply hit the back arrow. It talks about the course flow and time management, grading, as I've already talked about. Anytime you see something that you have to submit, okay, you have to submit and receive a pass grade, which is basically just pass fail. We don't do in between. You either adequately covered it or you need to do it again. There's no fail. You just have to redo it based on feedback. Um, you'll see it in orange. Okay, that means that there's something for you to do. So, for example, if we scroll down to the history of money, you've read about the history of money here, the invention of coinage, you've looked at the images, you've clicked on what is money, you've watched a video on some of the ancient money that the Museum Masterpiece series created. And then you click on this, and you can see there is 3 museum exhibits. And this is something I really want to show. So within this, we include exhibits in our museum. So if I want to actually look at, Paula, can you help me here? Are you seeing the traditional money of Africa screen?
Yes.
Okay, good. So if you click on the link, it brings you to our museum exhibit. You can click on the case and you can actually see high resolution images of everything in the case. Okay, so it provides right there at your fingertips, all in that place. So I go back, I want to see the traditional money of Asia. I click traditional money of Asia, I get the Asia case, etc. I close, I come back, and then I ask, you are given an assignment, and it pulls up a document for you, and all you do is type to answer the questions. And if you'll notice, and I'll zoom in so it's a little bit bigger, the questions are not they're understanding base. For example, what are the similarities you see across different regions before we even had intercontinental trade? What role did animals play? Things like that that make you think more deeply about what you're learning. So you have those assignments, you have those. We have the section again on ancient coins sometimes. Your assignments, you can see here on Roman coins, you click and you click in the case, and you can walk through and look at what the Money Museum has on display or has had on display. Again, you go down, each of these is a reading with images, with articles, with YouTube videos, with NumismaTalks, all the resources we can find to throw in there to make that a holistic understanding. And then each section has that orange thing that assignment that you do for a review. So that's the introduction to numismatics course. If I'm Stella, I can work on this alone. At the end, I come down and I submit for my certificate. When I receive that on my end at the ANA, I go back, I make sure, even though I've given you feedback on all your work, I make sure everything is satisfactory and has a clear understanding. If not, I reply back to you with a message and say, hey, could you go back and explain the role of animals in the development of money? It's in section blah, blah, blah. And then if you can't find it, I help you find it. Once you've completed everything satisfactorily, you can submit for your certificate and we will mail you your certificate for that course. Now, Stella has a couple options. She signed up for all 4 courses at once. So she can take them one at a time, like I just showed you, or she can take more than one at a time. Like let's say she gets down to money and she's like, you know what? I need something different. I'll come back to this. I'm going to go to grading. Grading US coins is our second course. And this course is built entirely different because it's built to teach you the basics of grading. It's not designed to teach you to be a professional grader. Um, Anybody who's a grader will tell you the best way to learn to grade coins is to touch them. But not everyone can go to summer seminar. Not everyone can go to a technical seminar. So we've used all the tools we have at the ANA to bring that into this course. It used to be 2 books long. It used to be a book on circulated grading and mint state grading. And we've combined those. Again, if you click on classwork, you'll see we have an introduction, which is just an introduction to the course goals, the course glossary, an assignment to get you started and engaged. We go through grading 101 at that point, which is the modern minting process. There are really cool activities, for example, where you can go inside the mint, coin production terminology. So we use actual resources and images from the mint. Um, Parts of a coin test your knowledge. You get a coin and it asks you, what's the obverse? What's the reverse? So this goes back to that question we had where someone said, what if I'm new? We're not going to ask you to do anything we haven't given you information on. If you're an expert numismatist who still wants to do the NDP, that's fantastic, but you may be able to move a little bit faster because you already know some of the terms. As I said, it builds. Tools of the trade, we look at the do's and don'ts of collecting. We look at the hardness of metals. We look at factors that affect grading, scratches, whizzing, cleaning, holes, filling holes, all those things that come up with grading. And then we talk about the different grading categories. For example, grading Morgan dollars. You can look at an example of Morgan dollars that grade all the way down. So we provide resources that allow you visual grading. It's also with this course that you get mailed the actual A&A grading guide book. So you don't get you do get an actual book that's got the grading guide. And some of the assignments ask you to use it because it's so important that you use it and or a red book when trying to grade coins. Applying grading skill. So then what we do with the grading course is we break it down into different series. We start by looking at the Lincoln cent. Every coin we look at is a popular coin. Obviously, we can't go through and grade every coin ever, but we start by setting the stage and telling you some basic information about how you'll use the tools. Then we look at the Lincoln cent specifically, and we provide for every coin we look at, we provide NGC information. This was a series created years ago, but it's still applicable. So we provide information. It was done by David Lang. So you can read an overview of what to look for in that series. You can then do guided practice. So it gives you an actual coin. Paula, are you seeing that obverse, that coin?
Yes.
Okay, so you look at the obverse, you look at the reverse. We've got this very high resolution. Then you click here on this activity and it asks you to start. And you have to, the first thing is basic. Do you think it's red, brown, or red, brown? Well, that coin looked really red to me. So I click red. I'm correct. I get to go next. Does it look circulated or uncirculated? Well, it looks uncirculated to me, but I'm going to say circulated to show what happens when you get it wrong. It takes you back to the beginning. So you have to go through until you get to the grade. And then, these grades are all so close together. Every grader might grade it different, but I'm going to say it's a 66. I click on it and it says, no, it was an MS65 red, and it shows me the original slab so I can see that it was a 65 red, but it gives me the answer whether I'm correct or not. So for every series, you get examples of those where it walks you through some different coins. Then you get to practice on your own. Paula, are you seeing the form?
I am, yes.
Perfect. So it gives you a coin. Here you see a 1937 Lincoln cent. You look at it. We've got a little video of it that shows you the lighting, so you can kind of tell the luster. Again, that's better if you see the coin in person. Then we ask you to actually kind of take a little quiz. What do you think it is? What grade would you give it? For the grading course, it's not important that you get the grade right, obviously. It's important that you understand why you got that grade. So when I click through, let's say I'm going to say this is red brown. I'm going to say it's circulated. Well, all my choices are uncirculated, so I'm not right. So I'm going to change it because I know that. And then I'm going to click this is an MS60 because I think it's a lower grade. And then I'm not going to do the rest. I'm going to submit. And I can see, yes, record my email. Sorry. I'm going to submit once I've done it all. Imagine I've done it all. Well, it's going to make me do it all. I'm going to do it all real quick. Okay. I'm not even looking at the coins for our sake. Although that one looked pretty shiny red. Okay. Submit. I can then view my score. I got 7 of 9 correct. Wow, that was some good guessing, huh? And then when I get one wrong, it actually tells me why it scored an MS-64. So you get the feedback on why it scored what it did immediately right there, which I think is fantastic. Um, and then we obviously show you some examples of coins that graded details. So we have this for we have this for the Lincoln cent, Buffalo nickel, Liberty or Mercury dime, Standing Liberty quarter, Walking Liberty half dollar, Morgan dollar. So we go through those big coins that you probably see the most, right? But hopefully by this point you have some skills to be able to use the guides we've given you and walked you through that point to where you get to hone your skills and you get to actually guess on some that we didn't give you all the details. So you have to use your resources, take that final step to kind of try and grade on your own. It's all the process. It's all laid out very clearly. The third course is detecting counterfeit and altered coins.
Can I pause you
It's
because we have about 10
absolutely.
questions and
Let's
that's
do it. Let's
okay.
do question time. Let's do
Um,
Christian take a breath time. Yes, go ahead.
yeah, well, because right in the middle. So, if we are on Blackboard, can we start over in classroom?
If you want to, absolutely. The information is the same. It's just a different learning platform. But if you want to go back through like you did it in Blackboard and you're like, now I want to try it again, 100%, no problem.
Are the courses self-guided or released course by course on a weekly basis?
They are self-guided. So each course, if you can imagine, takes 6 to 8 months to create. They are a very big investment because I'm using books and books and books, but also videos and numismatists. And I'm trying to pull all that together with the best, clearest stuff, putting it in an order. So it's really 4 courses. These courses have been built over the past 2.5 years. And so they are all self-paced and they are now available. This is what we're going to call our NDP or Numismatic Diploma Program core. So these 4 courses will be the core. If you do all 4, it basically means you have a great overview of the basics of numismatics, introduction, grading, counterfeit, and modern minting and errors. You have a good understanding. You get our Numismatic Diploma Scholar Certificate, okay, which means you've done all 4. The next project on my plate, and I'm not promising this anytime soon, okay, but probably sometime early next year, is I'll begin creating one-off courses on very specific topics that people can take those and have interest in. So there might be a course just on paper money. There might be a course just on exonumia. There might be a course just on early American coppers. So they're going to be very specific, and those will be released based on when they're completed. But they won't be part of the core. You can take those one at a time, earn the certificate for that particular course. If you do those, it is considered the equivalent of a summer seminar course. Paula.
Okay. I have a learning disability and I'm wondering how that would be looked at and handled.
Any type of learning disability you have, we can create accommodations for. One of the beauties of this position for me is I did work for 5 years in a school for students with learning disabilities, dyslexia, ADHD, dysgraphia, but also central processing. So if you have a disability and you communicate with me directly, if you're having issues with an assignment, if there's an accessibility issue, just email me. Just forget the whole platform for a second. Email me and be like, I'm working on this, Christian, and I'm having a hard time because of this. 100% I'll have your back. I'll adapt it for you. We'll figure it out.
Will I receive any textbooks or is it all online?
For course 2, grading, you will receive the one book, which is the ANA grading guide. Because you need it to grade coins. Obviously, you need the grading standards. So as soon as you pay online, Paula gets an email that says so-and-so Stella Mercury has paid for course 2, and she drops a book in the mail for you for that course. That's the only course that still has a book.
Does each course cost $75?
It does. Each course will cost $75 on Google Classroom. Um, if you're still in Blackboard and you've taken courses in Blackboard before, we will hold the original price there, which was 50 because it wasn't fully built when we released it. But now that everything is built and present, Google Classroom would be 75 a course.
I can see that the courses are self-paced, but is there a time limit to accessing the courses, or is it that once you've paid, you have perpetual access?
You have perpetual access. There is no, I don't boot anybody out at any point. Keep in mind that this is all part of a Google platform. So if Google did go bankrupt, I can't promise that your material is going to be there in 78 years from now. Okay. But no one's getting booted out when they're finished or anything like that. You can go back and use it as, and I encourage people to will encourage people to do this. Use it as a textbook because all this information in there is the basic information before you do the activities. So yeah, go back and use it and look at it. And you absolutely, I mean, that's highly encouraged. I'm not saying, I know the original Numismatic Diploma Program required everyone to finish in 2 years. That's no longer the case. Take as long as you need. We know people get deployed with the military, people have a kid and don't go to it to 5 years. It's not a problem. We're not in a rush. We're here to support you in your educational journey. And as I mentioned in the beginning, we're very learner centered. So we really want to support what you need.
If you have a question, I just saw Donald raised his hand. Just pop it in that Q&A. After I take a test and fail, do I have to retake the entire test or just the question I failed?
Just the question you failed. You don't, and that's modern learning practices. If you've shown that you are proficient's a term, or adequate in a skill and in an area, I'm not going to make you retake the whole test. And in the grading one specifically, and I'll show you in the counterfeit one and modern minting one too, you don't have to get 100. You don't have to get everything right because those are about you learning. Okay, I thought that was a uncirculated coin. It's a circulated coin. You're going to ask yourself why. You're going to look at the feedback. I don't need you to do anything else, right? If you were in a summer seminar course and you got the grade wrong, you'd be like, oh, well,
Hmm.
okay, oh, I didn't see that. Okay, moving on, right? So it's not, there's no set score you have to get for those courses. It's about you completing them and learning from them.
Okay, will there ever be classroom discussions?
That's one thing I'd like to work on, on Google Classroom. So one of the things, and this is something that's probably way too much information for you all, but let's just do it. Google Classroom has a lot of really great accessories that you can add. Meaning you can use other features and incorporate other programs. But because we're a .org and not a .edu, they have this really weird thing right now where we can only use certain tools because other tools are reserved for educational institutions. Um, so there are those things. I'm currently working to try and figure out how to get more of those things in there. There is a discussion board option that I use in a couple cases where you'll be given a link to a discussion board and you'll be able to do it. It's also possible at some point, and I'm not promising this right now, but where if there's a guest speaker on minting errors or something like that, I could send an email out to everyone who's ever registered for the course, whether you started it or in the middle or finished it, and say, we're going to have a webinar on this at this time for anyone who was in the class who'd like to learn more about this. Um, that's something we're also considering doing. But as far as being in an actual classroom, that would be summer seminar.
Do you want to do a few more and then continue?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a bunch of questions, but we can kind of break it up.
Sure.
Once on money.org, please provide the pathway to get to the classroom app.
Okay. So the classroom app, Paul, if you'll put this in the chat, is classroom.google.com.
I actually can't.
You can't type in the chat? Hold on.
No, because I don't have chat. I only have the Q&A up. Chat was problematic.
Oh,
Sorry about that.
I can't imagine that. Here, can I ask myself a question?
Maybe.
Maybe not. Hey, Clark, you heard me. Put classroom.google.
Well, is it to register or to get to the classroom?
To get to the actual classroom, it's classroom.google.com. Okay. If you go there now, if you've ever signed up for a Google Classroom course through any other thing, like maybe your kids have using your email, maybe you've done it with a different program. Thank you, Elliot. There we go. Then you'll see there may already be courses there that have nothing to do with ANA. This is very important, and that is that whatever email address you register with is the email address you will have to log into Google Classroom with. Okay, so make sure you're logged in to the email you want to be, especially if it's a Gmail, when you are trying to access your Google Classroom courses. And of course, as I said, Kevin, our systems integration manager, will be happy to help anyone who has that little bump in the beginning. We'll also do a tutorial video on how to get there. Um, on our money.org page, this will all be built out by the mid-March. Again, this is kind of a sneak peek into this. But you will go to money.org/education, and you'll go to our e-learning academy. Same now as where you see the Numismatic Diploma Program. And that page would automatically enroll you into Google Classroom starting in mid-March.
Hey, just a pat on the back. It's a fabulous program, great work. And what's the expected time frame, number of hours to complete each course?
So each course is different. The first course, I would say Introduction to Numismatics, is going to be probably 40 to 60 total hours. Some very obsessive people like myself do that in a weekend because we can't stop once we start and it's exciting. Some people it takes months. Some people it's interesting because I can see how long for each course and they're like almost exactly 2 months apart. Grading, counterfeit, and modern minting process are shorter. So I want you to understand that not all of them are going to be as long and as in depth as that first course. I would say grading should take between 20 and 40 hours. Counterfeit, same thing. Modern minting, same thing. Okay.
Okay, let's do one more and then I'll let you keep going through the courses.
Sounds great.
Okay. If we are partway through a course on Blackboard and switch to Google Classroom, do we keep credit for the portion of the course we finished or do we start over?
You always get credit. Here's the thing you need to understand about our philosophy at the ANA in the education department, at least. Our philosophy is we're not trying to cheat anyone out of anything by strict, weird rules. Okay. And I know that sounds like a very weird statement to make, but some of you have had experience where you're like, well, I took it in 1987 and they said it wasn't valid anymore in 1993. And okay, we don't operate like that anymore. So anything you have, you will know in advance. Like I said, we are moving off of Blackboard. That transition will, for people who are in Blackboard, you'll have a year to wrap up, finish anything you're working on, at which point you'd be automatically moved to Google Classroom. Your work won't transfer though. So if there's stuff you've done in Blackboard that you want to save, you'd want to save that. But all of the information that was in Blackboard will still be in Google Classroom, if that makes sense. So if you're in the middle of an assignment and you take a screenshot because it's the day Blackboard is closing down for us, I'm going to give you credit. I'm not. This is about enriching your numismatic lives, not about passing a test in a certain way. So as long as I can see that you've done the work to deserve the certificate and the credit, then you will get it. All right, so going back here to detecting counterfeit, this one is structured differently as well because it's about counterfeit. It starts out with counterfeit, as old as money. It's been around forever. You see examples from the Dark Ages money, looking at counterfeits there, specifically in relation to the downfall of the Roman Empire. I've got examples, for example, of genuine versus counterfeit, where you can see examples of foray. So as you read, you see the images and links below help you to get a deeper, more rich experience. We have videos on counterfeit, ancient counterfeiting. We have a clip of a series from 2001 where they actually came to the Money Museum and talked about counterfeits, the History Channel. You have an assignment. Then we start, and again, everything starts at the base level and works its way up. We talk about counterfeit detection tools. What should you use as far as specific gravity, as far as scales, as far as modern technology? Aristotle's fault, which is our new video series. It's like a masterclass style video series. We have a whole series on counterfeit detection. Episode 2 is linked in here because Greg Bennett goes over those major factors that you should look for. An article on holders, including different videos, etc. Um, so once you get the basics behind the idea of counterfeiting and what the big kind of red flags are, we go into the individual dates. So, for example, we start with key date sense. The 1856 Flying Eagle, we talk about the diagnostics, the remarks for the counterfeit, the remarks for the obverse, the reverse. We show you we link you to NGC where you can actually see what a real authentic one looks like. We also include video from Brian Silliman. Brian Silliman went through many of these. We also have older videos from JP Martin, who did a series. That information is still valid. We incorporated that as well because there's no reason not to, just because it's older. And we also used articles from the numismatists that dealt with the diagnostics. So you can click through each of these key date cents and look at, for example, the 1909 SVDB. You click there. You can look at the different style mint marks. You can look at the different ways to detect. You can watch a video about it. So each one is kind of a case study. And then at the end of each type, so sense, there's a crossword puzzle for you to complete where you actually think about and look at, and it reviews the very specific details of that. That's probably the closest thing to traditional learning you'll get in the course is the crossword puzzle because it asks you very factual questions. The reason why I continue to do that is because if you want to identify a counterfeit 1909 SVDB, you have to know facts, right? You have to know very specific details, especially if you're shopping on the floor of a show. Um, so we do key 3, 5, and 10 cent coins, $quarter, $half, key date dollars, commemoratives. There's a article series done by JP Martin in the 90s where he goes through all the major, let's see, key date, commemorative brief history. He goes through um, basically the details of all the major commemoratives in the numismatists in the early 90s. That entire file of all 29 coins is included there, so you can go through it at your leisure. Then there's a section on gold. And then at the end, it asks you to click and diagnose the problem. So basically, it gives you a coin and it's like, based on what you learned you should be looking for in that coin, what do you see? And then, of course, you get that automatic feedback as you saw in the grading one. The last course, and then I can take questions for the remainder of the time, is the modern minting process and minting errors. This one is yet to be released on Blackboard. As I said, the only people who will be able to take it on Blackboard will be people already in a Blackboard course just because of time restrictions. But it's the same course. So it starts with the history of errors and the error hobby, and then it goes into the modern minting process. It talks about, planchet production. We use a lot of the US Mint stuff because it's the most up-to-date. Coin design process, the die making, striking. We have a video link that talks about the error hobby from our Aristotle's Vault series, as I said. And then we bring it all together by kind of making sure everyone understands the basics of the minting process. Because the major key, obviously, to understanding an error coin is where it happened. Did it happen in the planchet making process, the die making process, or the striking? And based on that, it tells you what kind of error and, information. So the course is then broken into those different categories. Planchet errors. And you go through and you look at different kinds of planchet errors. For example, damaged and defective planchets. You look at melting errors and you see examples there. You look at cladding errors and you see examples there. So it goes through, as I said, the PDS system. It also addresses die varieties. And then it asks you at the end, very similar to grading and counterfeit, it gives you a coin and it's kind of like, what happened? Where do you think it happened? Again, you don't have to get a perfect score to pass the course. You have to partake in the activities, try, and provide explanations and understanding. That way we can see that you actually have learned from the process. Okay. So those are the four courses. Paula, hit me.
Okay. Thank you so much for the presentation. I'm enjoying the course so far. How do folks talk about the Numismatic Scholar certification professionally? I know it's not certification for anything, but still a good credential. I hear some use the phrase Numismatic Scholar designation. Is that appropriate? And what would be your elevator speech for explaining the credential to someone?
Absolutely. So great question. It is not an accredited program, and we say that up front. It makes no one an official grader. I do compare them though to the equivalent of going to a summer seminar course. So it holds that same weight as in, hey, I took summer seminar grading with Don Bonzo and Jim Stouch's diet. If you do the online course, you're still doing it, and they're in almost every module, their videos and things like that, right? It's definitely worth putting on a resume because in the numismatic world, people know who the ANA are, where they know us, and they know our numismatic diploma program requires certain things. So if nothing else, you're showing in the numismatic world that you have this basic set of knowledge, or that you took those courses to have that basic set of knowledge and successfully pass them. Again, you don't just automatically pass. I've had people go in and try that, like just put random stuff in blanks. Doesn't work. Okay. Um, so but if you were to being applying for a job, let's say at a university or something, and you're like, oh, I have a numismatic diploma program, scholar certificate from the ANA, they're probably like, okay, well, anybody could do that. You're right, anybody could do that. It doesn't require anything to, prerequisites or anything like that. But it does hold value for people in our world.
Are the old diploma books still available for sale?
They are not. And the reason being is that they were so outdated that a lot of the information was incorrect. So one reason why we moved the NDP online was because we were I had a problem sending out people wrong information. And so things change in the numismatic world, not a lot, but over 20, 30 years they do. So those books are no longer even printed, but the correct information from those books, those exact same books, I used as the baseline, and I fact checked everything as I went through those books and included all the stuff that was still true and relevant. So all that information is still there in the online form.
So you answered this earlier, but maybe just to say it again. How do you sign up? This looks like great fun.
Yeah, so starting in mid-March, we'll do an e-blast. In the April numismatist, there will be an entire spread on all four courses, two-page spread, so you can like see it and it'll have directions on how to sign up. Um, I would encourage you, if you haven't done any of the four courses yet online, to wait until you get that e-blast in mid-March to sign up. Simply because if you sign up now, you're going to be on a 1 year schedule to finish anything you start in Blackboard. Um, so for people who've already done the first three courses in Blackboard and they're waiting number four, it shouldn't be a problem. A year's more than enough time. They've already done these other ones within 3, 6 months, not a big deal. But if you haven't taken one yet, wait till you get that email, that e-blast in mid-March, April, and then click the link, sign up, go for it. And if you have questions once you're in, we have people do this from ages 13 to 80. We get all kinds of questions about people who don't even know how to like log into an email, to people who are like, oh, I did that in 30 seconds, and you're like, well, that's impressive.
Yes.
So, we are able to accommodate most everybody. If you hate computers and you really like don't want to do it, don't do it. I'm not begging anyone to do it. Obviously, we want people to learn. That's our mission, that's our goal. But if you feel like you're going to be miserable doing it, there's no need to do that. But we will help you if you sign up. We promise.
I bought
You
your
got me.
course
You have me on video saying I promise.
It'll be on our website. I bought your course package in 2020, just before COVID hit, and I never got back to the course. And my grandfather.
You are grandfathered. If you have ever taken the Numismatic Diploma Program course, you are grandfathered into the new ones. You can't register in the regular way because we have to go back and see, your file and everything within the old program. And we have to sign you up manually so you don't have to pay. So that would be an email to me. My email, Elliot, could you put that in the question answer? Is cstrayhorn@money.org. Um, you can email me and we'll get you in to the new ones.
Is there a closed book final exam proctor with Google?
Absolutely not. And this is because I come from a world of new education, cutting edge education philosophy. I've spent many years studying on like best learning practices and based on just the world today, whether you agree with it or not, we have so much information at our fingertips that unless you're going to trivia night somewhere, you're not really ever going to be asked to not use your phone and pull out and look up information.
Yeah.
So for us, it's about learning how to use that knowledge to perform certain skills. So all of our assignments ask you or are skill based. You're actually looking at something and telling us what grade you think it is, or why do you think the Romans put Caesars on their coins versus the Greeks putting gods on their coins, right? You're looking, you're going, oh gosh, you do see a shift in cultural significance and importance and things like that. That's what we're going for. We're not going for, which of the following four characteristics do you need in grading? Luster, mint, we're not going down that path because what we found is most people don't remember that after the test anyway.
Are there any brochures that I can print out to share with my coin clubs?
I would recommend, as I said, the website will be updated. We will do the e-blast, which I would print out if I were you, the e-blast when it comes out and use that as the flyer. It will also be the spread, as I said, in the April Numismatist. And I think most importantly, and this is something a lot of clubs I wish they would do more of, which is realize that these Numisma Talks are recorded, they're edited, and then they're put on our website and on YouTube. So you could actually show 15 minutes of this webinar right now today to an entire club. With a computer, you plug it in, you hit play, you go, okay, see here she's talking about courses 1 or 2. Let's fast forward past the questions. Here she's talking about this. So I think that's one of the most powerful ways if you're actually at a coin club to spread the information is to show pieces of the Numisma Talks.
For YNs, is there a way to earn first course with no or reduced fee?
Um, yeah, that's something we can talk about privately.
Okay. Yep.
Email me and ask me. It may be a thing where I charge you YN dollars, right? Yeah, you can think about that, did you? Sorry, those YNs are on it for you. Those of you who are not young numismatists, they
Yeah.
are on it, and they are very sneaky about learning numismatics, which is absolutely amazing, and I love it. But yes, we'll talk about it.
So somebody wants to know, what is the class code for Google Classroom?
So that's what you get when you pay. So when you pay, like for example, Stella Mercury, she would get a class code and she would type that join code into Google Classroom. And here, and I can actually share kind of how that would look just real quick, maybe if I still have it open. Yes, there it is. So we have Stella Mercury's Google Classroom page, and let's say she pays for a fifth course that's developed next year. She will pay and she'll get a join code and she'll click the plus sign, create or join class. She'll join class, she'll enter the code, and then it'll pop up here on her main screen. But you only get the code if you pay.
Okay. You mentioned that the courses are fluid and at times will be updated as new information is discovered. Will former students be notified when the course is updated?
Unless it's a major change, no, because a lot of times it's someone catches a typo or someone provides new images. Like I said, you have the Google Classroom courses for as long as Google Classroom exists and we're an organization, or until we shift that information somewhere else. And like I said, our philosophy is not to make people pay for the same thing twice, right? Um, so, so what was the question? I totally lost it. I think I answered it in a roundabout way, but
Yeah, I'm sorry. I
um,
just missed it once I spread it out loud.
no,
Okay.
it's okay. It's okay. Um, no, updating. Yeah, so if
Oh,
there's a major change, like on the 1856 Flying Eagle, if China suddenly releases a whole new, they are modifying, or a whole new series, then we can do what we'll do is some highlights kind of for people in the NDP. Be like, hey, here are some updates you may have missed. But we haven't had anything major like that yet.
Yeah. Okay, we've got our friend Diane praising us. Paula, thanks for your work with the presentation. Thank you both for a very informative presentation. Yes, the new program fills in the gaps the correspondence course had. It is a great update with excellent guidance to resources you did not know were available, especially if you were starting from scratch. Thanks, Diane.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm currently on Blackboard and paid for the introduction to numismatic class. Should I pay for the other classes now to get the discount of $50 per class?
Um, No. So what's going to happen in mid-March? And I see someone else put in there about the rollout day. It really depends on, I think March 15th is the closest I can give you. It may be a few days before that or a few days after that. I know it is systems integration and the website's major goal after National Money Show, which ends March 1st, right? So I can't give you an exact date. What I recommend for everybody, whether you started it in Blackboard or not, is that you wait because we're not going to release the fourth course of that date. And on that date, if you're enrolled in the program, only the people in the program already will get an email that gives them an option of whether they want to take course 4 in the old one and under a time constraint or whether they want to go to Google Classroom. So I recommend you wait just so you're not having to switch. I don't think that extra $25 is worth you having to do part of it in one versus the other, to be honest, because there's such different platforms. I would just wait. And I hate the timing of this because this Numismatalk was scheduled months ago. And I knew I would have my part done by now, and I thought it would be so people could like right now click and register. And we're a month behind that because of rolling out V fares at the National Money Show. So one of those things, but you're getting a little preview.
I finished in 2022. It was good then, but now it looks absolutely amazing. By the way, I do use the certification in my CV. I also use the program as a stepping stone to my continuing education after completing the program. I went on to get a PhD in Greek history and numismatics, so it was a powerful motivator for me.
Great.
When do you receive grades? Course says available after all grades are posted.
Um, for Google Classroom, I get it as soon as someone submits. Um, as soon and Blackboard too, it's there as soon as someone submits. When it says all grades are posted like that, sometimes that just refers to if a teacher has set a deadline, it holds it to release it back. But because it's self-paced, I don't put deadlines in. There aren't deadlines to complete assignments. So as soon as you do, you should get your feedback back. And if you don't, let me know and I'll make sure you do. But I have never had that issue be a problem.
Mhm. Um, auction for the NDB course in the YN auction. That's a good idea.
It's a great idea.
Yeah. I paid for Blackboard, but had issues with my answers clearing upon submission. So that's why I want to switch to Classroom. Can I email to get the code? What's your email?
You can't email to get the code. You can email to register. My email is cstrayhorn@money.org. I think Elliot put it in there already, right?
Yeah.
So you can not yet. Wait till you get that e-blast or that email though, because we're not putting anyone in until the official launch.
Mhm. Can you be more specific about the rollout date, which you just said?
Yeah.
And then there's just a few thank yous and good presentations. So yeah,
Okay.
looks like we wrapped that up. So thanks, Christian.
Yeah. Thanks
Whilst
for having me,
waiting.
Paula.
Just as a quick wrap up, we've kind of touched on it before Christian did, but we are recording these and they will be available on our website once they're edited. It does take a bit of time because we do have a show coming up and it'll probably slow it down just a bit. But please be sure to check for future programs on our website at money.org under the education tab. So Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone, for coming, and great questions and great engagement. So I feel good. And like I said, once you get that e-blast, email, whatever in mid-March, anything you need, just let me know.